episode 104, IRONMAN 70.3 Santa Rosa with Ronald Stevenson. Welcome to the pursuit of the perfect race. I'm Coach Terry Wilson, and with each episode, I bring stories of athletes to you that share their experiences at races in order for you to learn how to have your perfect race. We will hear stories from athletes of all ages, abilities, and races of all distances. So regardless of where you fit in, there's something in it for you. Thanks for spending some time with me today. Now let the pursuit begin. Hello everyone, and welcome back to the pursuit of the perfect race. Today I have the pleasure of talking with my friend Ron Stevenson about his recent race experience at IRONMAN 70.3 Santa Rosa, where he had a time of 6 hours, 3 minutes, 45 seconds. Ron has been doing triathlons for many years now. This race took place on July 28, 2018, where the temperature on race day was 52 and rose to 87, and the swim was canceled due to heavy fog. Welcome to the show, Ron. I look forward to hearing about your race experience at 70.3 Santa Rosa.
Hey, thanks for having me, Terry.
Hey, you're welcome. So what made you want to do this race?
It was kind of like in the middle of my training schedule. It was it's not an A race, it was a B race, and it was my first one that I did last year in May.
Okay. Going into this race, how was your training?
Training was good. Unfortunately, I was set up to do St. George the actual day that I was going to T1 to drop into the run up. I re-aggravated an injury. So I thought that I could kind of gut check it through. But when I got up at 2:00 to head down to the swim start, I could barely walk. So it was kind of difficult because I ramped up really hard for St. George. And then I had to take about a week or two off just to kind of heal up. And then the training going into Santa Rosa was pretty intense. It was pretty good.
Okay. So what kind of plan did you use?
The coach that I have has Training Peak, so I use that religiously 7 days a week.
Okay. So who's your coach?
My coach's name is Randy Parr. He's a local here in Las Vegas, Nevada, 13-time Ironman. He's a pretty studly guy, good guy, understands the sport, and his workouts are pretty humbling. So, yeah, he's a good guy.
Nice. So going into this race, what was your longest swim, bike, and run workouts?
Going into this race, I did the longest was an 84-mile bike, 5,000-meter swim, and 8-mile run.
Wow. Were you doing a lot of bricks in training?
Yeah, quite a few, especially about the last, we'll take taper out, but probably the last 5 weeks before taper, I was brick working 4 days a week.
Wow. Were you doing a lot of sessions with high intensity, or were you just doing low intensity, high volume? What did that look like?
A little bit of both. You know, the swim workouts, which was really a bummer that we didn't have the swim because I was really excited for the swim. I did a pre-swim on Friday before the race, and it felt really good. You know, we were all nervous that we weren't going to be able to wear wetsuits. You know, that was the big thing about 2 weeks leading up. And David Reed, the race director there at Santa Rosa, who did a fabulous job again, he was the race director last year. He was giving his podcast and everything and his videos on the Facebook page. And that was an issue. We were worried about whether it was going to be too hot. Fog never even came into it. And then when we found out the fog settled in, we're like, oh, shit. Oops. So that then became a factor. And so I thought, I was ready. The swim felt really, really good. And we were doing everything from just 100-meter repeats, doing a little bit of distance work. He emphasizes a lot of work with paddles and, just to kind of keep the shoulders strong. So do a lot of pull buoy and paddle work. And, 2,000 meters or doing 200-meter repeats with paddles on 10 seconds is kind of difficult. And so his swim routines are pretty tough, but it got me ready for the swim. So I was kind of bummed that it didn't ever happen.
Right. What workouts did you do that gave you the confidence to go into this race prepared?
I would say probably the brick workouts that we did. We did a lot of the bricks that would be a run out of the pool. And so just having the mindset of not only doing the swim and getting the distance in, but, having your T1, so to speak, set up and transition to get, to go on to the run, swimming in your kit. It's just just, preparing for race day.
That makes sense. Now, going into this race, did you get injured or miss a lot of training?
No, going into this race, I was golden. There was no problems. Felt strong the whole way. My nutrition was good leading up to the race. So no injuries at all.
Okay, what kind of nutrition were you using?
Just trying to eat cleaner. I'm not a pro, but I tried to eat better. And nutrition wise, I use Carbo Pro for my water bottles, and I'm a Roctane guy, so I do those. I use Salt Stick with caffeine, and just drink some protein powder and just try and eat good.
That makes sense. What was the most hours that you trained in 1 week leading up to this race?
I think the biggest week I had was about 19 and a half hours.
Wow.
Yeah, 19 and a half hours. And that was, I remember pretty vividly because I did some big rides up in Utah. And I had about 254 miles on the bike. And I swam about, it was right around 19,000. And I ran, not my run wasn't commensurate with everything else, but I ran about 18.
Wow. Now, were there any days where you just mentally didn't want to train?
Yeah, there were a lot of those.
How did you get past them?
When you walk into my house out of my garage, I make it a point, to put my medals up, and my bike is on a stand as I walk in, and I look at them every day. And for me, triathlon has been a saving grace. I'm a former United States Marine. I'm a connected veteran, and I've got some things that I battle with PTSD, and being able to work out and train as intensely as I have has helped that immensely. And so having a good strong work ethic and wanting to succeed and wanting to get to another level in this sport, that gets you to clip in and jump in the pool again and run. That's just kind of the way that I'm wired. So this is a reminder as I walk in. I see my Ironman medals that are hanging on the wall. I've done 4 halves and I've done 1 full. And I started this Ironman track in September of 2016.
Wow. So this has been in the works for quite a while.
A little bit.
Wow. Well, before we go any more, thank you for your service. It's been nice to have a few veterans on. Thank you. I appreciate your service.
Thank you. So
whenever you think of your training going into this race, when you're not training or racing, what are you doing? What else is on your plate?
I got a job.
What do you do?
I own 2 businesses. My wife and I own 2 businesses here in Vegas, and they're pretty consuming time-wise. We've got lots of hours we spend doing this. I've got kids that range from the age of 7 to the age of 30.
You have 6 kids?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yes, sir. Yeah. So the 7-year-old all the way to 30. Oh,
wow.
So, it's all of the things that are going on in the 7-year-old or pre-teen or young teen's life, as well as son in college, one that works for, a couple that work for me, and then their boyfriends and their girlfriends and just life in general. So it's really, it's really busy. My life is very, very busy.
So training 20 hours a week, spending enough time with your wife, balancing 2 jobs that you have, and spending adequate enough time with all 6 of your children. How do you do that?
I'm up at 3 o'clock every morning. Usually my first workout of the day is by 5 o'clock. Sometimes it's at 4 o'clock, depending on what's on my schedule. I go to work and do what I need to do. And then typically sometime before lunch, I'll cut out and do a second workout. But if things are too busy and won't allow me to do that, I'll do a second workout when I get done at 5:30 or 6 in the afternoon. Sometimes 4:30 in the afternoon, I'll do a second workout. The one that suffers the most is my wife. Because my kids are around, they're busy doing things, but the weekends I'm gone training. Probably, I do my biggest runs and rides there, so I'm on, depending on where I'm on my schedule, I'm gone for 3, 4, 5, 6 hours.
Wow. So could you really be where you are in the sport without her?
No, she's the number 1 Sherpa. No, she's always been really supportive. She gets the kids ready. You know, I mean, she follows me at all the races. No, I don't think so.
Did you make any sacrifices going into this race?
I think triathlon on its own is a sacrifice. I mean, it's a lifestyle for sure. The sacrifices you make are almost on the daily in terms of deciding that you want to go. I mean, I'm in bed every night, I would say by 7:30. So trying to get the right rest and get the most out of your workouts and balance all this stuff, you know. It's funny because when I was in Santa Rosa, we were staying as well as Tim and Rennie, and they had Izzy, their baby, there. And I'm thinking, well, these people are sponsored by Tier and Hoka, One, and all this stuff's going on, right? And all they have to do is train. That's it. Do some public appearances and do all those kinds of things. But that's just as daunting as what I do. You know, I mean, it's just one thing after another. But what makes this sport so cool is that those people, whether it's Tim O'Donnell, Miranda Carfrey, whether it's Gwen Jorgensen, whoever the pros are, they're all cool people. You know, I was just telling my coach about this. You're not going to hang out with Shaquille O'Neal without 17,000 people inside the lobby. You know, you're not going to do it. You know, but our sport's different. You know, I think that our sport, we take care of one another. That's what I love about Ironman. I mean, doing those races, everyone is with you. You're with everyone. You support everyone. They support you. And it is kind of like the military. You know, it's small. Triathlon community is not as big as, you know, a lot of the other things that are out there.
Right. How was your taper going into this race?
Tapering's hard. You know, tapering's hard. Resting's hard, especially when, you know, you're at like red line for as many weeks as you are. And then, you know, coach tells you it's time to taper now. And you're like, wow, well, how do you stop that? How do you slow that down? How do you get in the pool and, you know, just do a couple drills and do a 1,500 meter swim and call it? You know, it's hard to do. Tapering's hard to do. You know, I mean, just like, you know, hammering on the bike, that's hard to do. You know, I after the race, you know, looking at my schedule, I took Sunday off and Monday off, and I had just a 45-minute spin on the bike. And my coach says, don't get out of the small ring and just relax and don't take your Garmin with you. Oh, no Garmin. You know, they say if it doesn't happen on Strava, it doesn't happen, you know?
Yeah.
So, you know, you're kind of looking down, you're an arrow, and you look down, you don't have your Garmin there, and you're thinking, okay, well, how fast am I going? What's my power at? How many watts do I got? You know, what's my heart rate at? But it was actually kind of a good idea because, you know, after about 45 minutes or a half hour, or 20 minutes, half hour, you're like, okay, this is just like riding a bike. This is cool. It's relaxing. So again, you know, kudos to him because, you know, following it and trying to do it, there is a purpose.
Right. Shifting gears now, when did you actually start traveling to the race? I know you live in Vegas, and this was in California, quite a ways of a drive. How did you get there? Did you drive all the way there?
Yeah, we road tripped, man. We had myself, my two daughters, and then one of my daughter's girlfriends, and then my son and his girlfriend piggybacked in his car. So we left like the butt crack of dawn on Tuesday, early Wednesday morning, and just kind of drove out there and just kind of took our time and set up camp at the courtyard there about probably 11:30. It's about a 10.5-hour drive, dude. It's a long way out there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a long way.
So whenever y'all got there, y'all stayed at the courtyard?
Yeah, the Courtyard Marriott there. Yeah, it's right on 3rd Street, right down the street from the Village. I stayed there last year for Santa Rosa. It's a really cool place. They do a good job there.
Okay. Now, was that an expensive hotel?
I mean, I think it's no, it's not that bad. I mean, it's like any other kind of hotel. I mean, it's not a Motel 6, but it's not the Ritz. You know what I'm saying? So it wasn't too bad. I mean, we just had one room and a bunch of us just kind of piled in there because it was just mainly just a place to crash because, you know, we were out and needed a place to set up, put my Normatex on and relax a little bit, you know. So it was good, though.
Okay. Now, whenever you got there, how was the check-in process at Ironman Village?
It was good. It's pretty systematic, you know, which, you know, I'm pleased with. I mean, you just come in and, you know, you got to show your card and your ID, and then you got to fill out your waivers, you know, and all that kind of stuff that we do. And then pick up your timing chip, pick up your race numbers. And, pick up your little sling bag and your kind of swag bag they give you. And it's pretty quick. I checked in about 5 o'clock on the very first day you could check in. So it wasn't too busy, wasn't too hectic. But they got it dialed in that village over there. They do a good job.
Okay. Now, did you bring a pair of scissors that we could crop the numbers to put on your bike?
No. I just peel it off and stick it on.
Okay. Now, after you get your bike ready the day before to check your bike in, are you looking at the weather at all?
Yeah, I looked at the weather probably almost every day, Terry, for the 3 weeks leading up to the race. And then, there was so much of it splashed all over the 70.3 Santa Rosa page that all you have to do is just pull that up and then give you your updates. But yeah, I mean, it's not going to really matter at that point because, once you toe the line, it's all over with. It doesn't matter. And no one was thinking that it was going to go down the way that it went down. That was a mess. It was hot. It was long.
Wow. So before you check your bike in, are you already being aware of what you're getting in as far as nutrition goes?
Yeah, I started kind of thinking about the nutrition and not wanting to overhydrate, but making sure that I was getting the right amount of protein in Thursday, probably around Thursday.
Okay. What kind of nutrition were you wanting to get in? Were you going to get a bigger breakfast and taper through the day? Were you wanting to get a big dinner in? What does that look like?
I just wanted to do the majority of my carbs early in the morning. And I got the carbs through Carbo Pro and just some starches and things like that. Eat some light greens, nothing real crazy throughout the day. And then drink water and Gatorade. Last meal is usually around 6 o'clock. And pre-race was at about 5 o'clock. So, yeah.
Okay. Now, whenever you started getting your bike ready and you got ready to go check it in, did you use Tri-Bike Transport to take it over to the start line or T1?
No, sir. I the only people that touch my bike are me and Jamie, who is the mechanic out here at Pro Cyclery. I don't want anybody touching my bike. Because if there's a problem, I want to be able to blame myself. I want to blame myself for any kind of a problem or Jamie. You say, Jamie, you screwed something up. You gave it to Tri-Bike, someone touched it. It's just, I'm really finicky about that. My aero bars don't look, it's just, no. And for me, the bike costs a lot of money for me. So to try and replace it or fix it, I don't need another potential liability.
I completely agree with that. Like, I don't like other people messing with my bike. I know exactly where all the scratches on my bike are.
Yeah,
I know I put them there.
Absolutely.
If somebody else puts anything else on my bike, something's wrong with that. I completely agree with it. You get to the day before the race. What time are you trying to go to bed?
It wasn't so bad this time, Terry. I mean, I know that previous races I always had an issue with trying to go to sleep, but I'm usually, it's later than usual. Like I said, I'm usually in bed by 7:30, no later than 8. But the night before the race, I think I laid down about 9:30, 10 o'clock.
Okay. And what time was your alarm clock set for?
I don't set alarm clocks. I just kind of wake up. But I was up at about 10 to 3.
Wow.
Yeah, we had to be at the buses to shuttle up to the swim start by 4 o'clock.
Wow, so you just got up and walked over there. Did your wife and kids get on the bus too?
No, they got to go separately. It's just the buses go up. I think it was about from 4:15 to 5:30 they shuttle athletes, and then after that they'll shuttle spectators and family. But they had to drive to the base of the base of the and drop their cars, and then they'd shuttle them up.
Because there's like a little rest area or something at the bottom of the mountain there.
Yeah, it's like a fish hatchery or something, dude.
Yeah. I was there for the full, and so we would actually drove to basically the bridge, and there's like a little parking lot right before the bridge. We just parked in that little parking lot right there. And we got there early enough where we could just walk over across the bridge, and then after we got ready, we could just take the car and go back down. We avoided all the little chaos like that.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was the same way for the 70.3 or not, but that's what we did. So you got to the start line. Did you bring your wetsuit? Did you already know it was going to be canceled, or were you still in the idea of swimming?
Yeah, we were in wetsuits, dude, for like an hour and 20 minutes down in the corrals, getting ready to swim like a bunch of freaking schleps. You know, I mean, there's a ton of fog out, and you know, they kept announcing, which kind of sucked too, because, you know, typically at Ironman, they got blasting the whole time, and everyone's just kind of grooving and having a good time, and it was always being broken up by updates every 5 minutes with the damn fog, you know, and so then it turned into, well, if we have to call the swim, we're going to break it down to 1,000-meter swim. And then if the 1,000-meter swim doesn't go, then we'll cancel it all together, and we're going to do a time trial start. And I'm like, whatever. So we're just sitting there just trying to, you know, do our thing. And, you know as well as I do, you know, you spend an hour and 15 minutes in a wetsuit, you got to dehydrate the shit out of yourself.
Yeah.
You know, it was bad. It was bad. And then finally, I guess a couple paddle boarders got lost on the lake. You know? I mean, it was crazy. And so they said, oh, we're going to call it. And so they said, everybody go back up to T1. And T1 this time was different than any T1 that I've had before, because it was a what they call a clean transition.
Right.
I've never had that before. So what that meant was that, have you ever had one of those before?
I have, yeah.
So you can't lay anything out, you know, to get ready. Everything's got to stay in the bag and all that kind of stuff. So we had to take all our stuff off and sit there. And then this time trial start, they're dropping 5 riders every 5 seconds. So they made 5 corrals, and a guy would do a countdown, and then he'd launch 5 guys, five athletes. And then he'd wait 10 seconds, 5 more people line up in the chute, and he'd launch them again. And so it's cool if you're like, you know, 0001, or, you know, maybe you're 100, but when you're number 3,149, it kind of blows. So we sat for another probably hour and 15 minutes before we even got on the bike.
Wow. Now, in this time period, were you trying to make sure that your nutrition was dialed in?
You know, honestly, during this time period, I was just trying to stay off my legs. You know, I'd already stood forever in those corrals. And, you know, the nutrition was already done. I think everything's already in the bank. It was just a matter of just going out there and doing it at that point.
Right. Whenever you got to transition, did you have to a certain PSI on your wheels? What were you using there?
I had mine at about 110. And typically, you know, when I ride here in Vegas, they're usually at 100. So, you know, 110 was good.
Okay. I know the roads out there in Sonoma aren't the best.
Yeah, it's funny because one of the athlete briefings that I didn't go to the athlete briefing this time, but I had heard, because I was walking around the village, and they were really excited talking about how many improvements they made on the road. I don't think it was a road we raced on. While there were some good ones, there's still a lot of bad ones, Terry. I'm telling you.
Man. So you finally get able to go. About what time did your race start? I
started at about 8:58 a.m.
Opposed to starting your race at what time?
I was in we should have started at 6:50, and I was in the 40-minute corral. So I bet you I would have been wet by 10 after 7. So I would have been on the bike by 7:45, 10 to 8, instead of 9.
Man, that sucks, because it's hot. It's hotter than normal, and from a Sherpa standpoint, your whole family is just standing around doing nothing for 3 hours. And I mean, I know there's no service up there. Trust me, I know that. There is no cell service up there on that mountain. So they're just up there hanging out, waiting for you to go so we can see you start, and then they can go back to town.
Yeah.
Man. So you finally get out on the bike ride. How did the first few miles of the bike ride go?
Bad. Well, you know, they had said that, you know, that long descent, you know, that you come down, they say, hey, make sure you're not a hero when you're going down the descent. You know, you're not going to win the race going down that descent, right? Be careful. Well, you know, there's one in every bunch. And in this fact, there was actually 3. And I got to the bottom just before you make that last sweeping right hand by the park. I felt bad because there were 3 riders that went down, and they were a bloody mess. Just, it was bad.
Really?
Yeah, it was really wicked. So, you know, I mean, just you know, listening, watching the signs. When it says stay out of arrow, stay out of arrow. When it says don't pass, don't pass. It says be careful, because you know what? We don't put food on the table with this sport. we got to go back to work, and going back to work busted up, or this, it's just not really worth it, you know?
Right. Now, and this was going down that first big hill.
Yeah, you know, going over the bridge and then going down the hill.
Man.
Yeah, it was pretty bad.
What was your strategy going into this race opposed to what it originally had been going into this race? Because knowing that the swim canceled, you kind of have to alter your nutrition plan, and then you have to go, okay, well, now that I'm not tired from the swim, I can actually go a little bit harder on the bike ride and maybe a little bit harder on the run.
Yeah, I didn't really waver from my plan. My original plan was to swim a sub 40, which I felt confident I could have done that easily, maybe around 38. And then I wanted to do faster than my bike in Santa Rosa before, the 17 Santa Rosa. And it wouldn't have mattered to me one way or the other if I did it, 2 or 3 minutes faster. Just faster would have been better for me. And I did that. I accomplished that. I mean, my goal, my first bike, I did it in 3:23 back in 17, and this bike I did in 2:47.
Wow.
Yeah, so I crushed it, and it was just trying to keep my power at about 170 watts, and I was able to maintain just a little over 20 miles an hour for the ride. So I was really pleased with that, and I felt good on the bike the whole way. Everyone was talking about Chalk Hill, being tough, and it does sneak up on you, around mile 28, because they say don't hammer too much, because when you get to the hill, it may make you pay. And I slowed down a little bit going up the hill, but stayed clipped in the whole way. Just kind of grinded it out, and was happy to see that volunteer at the top when she was yelling summit, because there's so many of those false summits you see as you're going up the hill, right? You're like, oh, this is it. Oh, shit, that ain't it, And so I was happy to see her. But I've never seen as many people walking as I saw on that hill.
Really?
Yeah. Which doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Training for an Ironman, I mean, I would think short of there being a mechanical breakdown or an injury, I don't know that you should be that tired to where you're walking next to your bike on an Ironman. That's just me. I don't know.
Right.
But I was telling my coach, I saw a guy pushing, walking fine, labored breathing. I asked him if he was good. He said he was catching his breath. He was pushing a P5X, a Cervelo P5X. You really?
$20,000 worth of bike, and you can't push up that hill on it?
That's what I said to her. He's like walking like it's his dog, and I'm like, okay. It was. I hope you don't listen to the podcast, because he knows this. Trust me.
Man, now, as far as the road goes here, the quality of the road we mentioned earlier isn't that great. It's kind of crap. But did you see a lot of flat tires or mechanical issues on the bike?
Not many. Not many. I'm pretty much when I'm riding, I don't see too much on the port and starboard of my vision, but I noticed bikes in the penalty box, I noticed that. I saw the bike volunteers kind of driving up and down, but I only saw, I would say, probably 2 or 3 people doing tubes. Not a lot.
That's good. I mean,
yeah.
In comparison to how bad the roads are, I mean, that's pretty good.
Yeah, I agree.
So what was your nutrition plan?
I'm a goo guy. I eat goo, and I do salt stick tablets, and I drink Carbo Pro. So it's really simple for me. It's not a full, so what you need for the full is nothing compared to, what you need for the half is nothing like you need for a full. So I had a bottle of I had 18 ounces of Carbo Pro in my left cradle, and I had a bottle of water in the other. And then I did every 40 minutes, I did a Roctane goo and a salt tab. And then for electrolytes, I would stop when I was going through twice. I stopped and got, took a couple pulls off the Gatorade. And that was it.
Okay.
That was it.
Now, you mentioned that you were trying to hit a certain power number. What kind of power number did that look like?
I wanted to stay right around 170, between 170 to 195 watts.
Is this a normalized power, an average power, an actual power? What is that like?
Average power.
Okay. Whenever you got to the final miles of the bike ride, you're coming into actual Santa Rosa. Did you have a lot of anxiety coming into the city?
No, I was cool. I mean, it was okay. I was pretty relaxed coming in. I was a little bit nervous by the heat, because I think you mentioned at the beginning of the podcast it was 88, but it sure had felt a lot hotter than 88.
Right. Well, I only took that measurement at Sonoma County.
Oh, okay. Between 80, I mean, and the humidity was higher too. I mean, here in Vegas it's dry, and even up in Utah it's dry. So humidity, it plays a factor, but I mean, it was warm.
Right. Now, as far as the bike course goes, is there anything you'd tell someone to be aware of that hasn't done this bike course before?
Be ready for Chalk Hill. Make sure you do some hill work. And do a lot of work in the big chain ring. Because that's going to help you going up that hill. That hill, it's not super long, but it can be a little daunting. Ask the guy on the P5X.
Wow. So how good did you execute your strategy for the bike ride?
To a T, perfect. I wouldn't have done anything any different. It was it was incredible. If I can repeat that same procedure for Arizona in November, it'll be good. Good.
Now, whenever you got to the last mile or so of the bike ride, are you doing anything to prepare to start running?
Yeah, I usually go into the small ring and just kind of spin my legs out a little bit, I start to envision how I'm going to get into T2. I'm trying to remember exactly where T2 is, where my spot is. I know when I dropped off my run gear, I kind of walk back where where the chute's going to be, and just kind of envision that. So just trying to go through some rehearsals to get through and to rack my bike and get my my running gear on and go.
Okay. Now you get to T2. How does T2 go for you?
Easy. It was good. I mean, like I said, I was pretty high up. Like I was 31:49 my bib number, and so there weren't a lot of people that finished in my area, so the rack was pretty wide open. I know last year when I did it, trying to find a spot to rack my bike, my bike wasn't as good last year, and there was bikes all over the place. But I had a ton of room. My family was right across the gate, and so yeah, it was good. It was easy.
Okay. Now you get everything ready for the run, and you head out on the run course. Are you having a certain pace strategy that you wanted to hit, where you wanted to hit a certain pace, or are you going off of heart rate? Do you have an RPE that you're looking for? What does that look like for you?
My goal, my run is not the strongest. I wanted to average 11 minutes a mile, and it started out that way. It was pretty good, but I got to the 10K mark and had like a freaking meltdown. And I think part of that was that I concentrated so much on the swim and on the bike and on the nutrition of both of those that I don't think my nutrition was right on the run. I didn't have any salt with me, and I should have had something, even a hand bottle, with some salt. And I didn't. And I hit the 10K mark, and it's like someone put a weighted vest on me, and I started cramping, and it wasn't cool.
Okay. So whenever you said that you had a meltdown and it felt like somebody put a weighted vest on you, was this a mindset? Was this a nutrition issue? You said that you wanted some nutrition there or some salt. Was this more of a lack of training on the hills that you weren't really prepared for, the weather, the humidity? What was that like?
I think it's a combination of just about everything you said there. I mean, I think that the run, I was talking to Randy debriefing after the race on yesterday, as a matter of fact, and the focus is need to be on the run. I need to do more work on the run, not necessarily the transition. The transition is going to be what it is. The nutrition was a factor. I mean, because if you don't have the right nutrition, you start to dehydrate, you start to cramp. That slows you down. Mindset never going to be an issue with me, and I'm going to finish a race regardless. So I'm not worried about finishing. It's just the quality of person you are when you finish. Can you walk back to the hotel? Are you smoked? Are you so?
I love the fact that you just used the term smoked, and I know that you're a Marine. I know how you meant that. That is awesome.
Yeah. So that's the way that it worked for me, and I should have done things differently. And so once I hit the 10K mark, it turned more into a gut check for me. And it wasn't anymore about trying to hit my 11-minute mile marks. I knew that I PR'd on the bike, And so I was just kind of holding on to that, saying, you know what, none of this other stuff matters because I just PR'd on the bikes. But that kind of held me through a little bit. But I mean, after all, when everything was said and done, I think I averaged a 14-minute mile, and that was a walk run. So it is what it is. Arizona will be better because I'm going to do things a lot differently, and as well as I do, the fulls are different animals when it comes to all the preparation, the race day, the hype. So this was a great tune-up for that race. So I'm totally stoked. It was good to go.
Okay, how was the support on the course?
It was different this year. I don't think it was supported as well as it was last year.
Really?
Yeah, I think the aid stations were less than desirable in some points. I think the volunteers were nice. I just don't think that there were enough of them doing what they did last year. There's much more excitement in the on the run aid stations last year. This year there was like 2 aid stations where they were kind of hyped, and the rest of them were like, it's like they worked at like Walmart. They're just kind of pissed, like, God damn, will you hurry up? So that was kind of a downer. I don't think that the food they had was good this year on the course, but that isn't the reason why I did poorly. I can tell you that, but that's just to answer your question.
Right. So to give listeners a little bit more about your experience in doing these races, how many 70.3s in Ironman have you done?
I've done 4 70.3s and done 1 full.
Okay. So this wasn't your first rodeo?
No.
Okay. Now, when we talk about the support on the course, were you given a red bracelet whenever you checked in at this race?
Yeah.
So do you remember who you gave it to?
I gave it to a person in the food tent.
Okay. So as far as the run course goes, what was the funniest thing that you saw?
The run course, funny. Let me see. I would say some of the people, and I don't know how they really do this. I see a lot of this that happens like in the marathon races, but some of these guys that are running the races in tutus, little ballerina tutu things. I don't know how you really do that in a triathlon, unless maybe it's a relay. And that's all they're doing is the run portion, so they can dress up like a clown and do that. Some of those guys were kind of funny, and I couldn't tell by looking at their left calf to see if there was an R on it or not, because I could barely see, Terry. I remember I told you I had a meltdown 10K. Yeah.
So what was the best part of the run for you? And don't say the finish.
See, I'm gonna say the best part of the run when I hit the 5K. Because when I hit the 5K mark, I thought to myself, I got a little over 3. I feel good. This is good. And then I was still high because of the bike ride, and I'm still high because of that. And then when I started to, it's when you go on some of those courses, and especially at Santa Rosa, you'll see mile 2, right? And then as you go up a little bit further, and it's not very far, you'll see mile 8 because it's a 2 loop, right? And you're like, do they have to put mile 8 there? I mean, because you're not at mile 8, so in your mind it kind of messes with you a little bit, and so you're thinking to yourself, well, where did I see mile 8? Same thing when I hit mile 10, you turn around and you see mile 11 really close up, and you're not near it. But one thing that's better this year on the run was that you didn't go like almost all the way to the finish line like you did last year, so the turnaround was good, and both loops were the same distance as opposed to last year. And I think that was a little bit better.
Okay. Now, as far as the final few miles of the run go, you said you were doing a run walk, and you had to basically call an audible for yourself of knowing to pace yourself a little bit different than your original strategy of the run. How were the final few miles?
Kind of painful. You know that when you stop sweating, that becomes a problem.
Right.
And I got probably into the last mile and I wasn't sweating anymore. And so I know that that's just the onset of a heat stroke. So trying to keep my core cool, not dumping water on my head, but trying to keep my core cooler just so that I don't sustain much damage. You're going to be sore regardless when you do these races. It was a cramp fest, the last bit. And, you're trying trying to run in strong because you know that you're going to be, on the website. You're going to be on the, going. You don't want to look like you feel, and so it's tough because I was cramping up a little bit, but that's kind of the love of what we do. It's that pleasure pain principle thing.
Right. Now, the last 800 yards, you get to pass where you get to go to your second loop, or you get to go to the finish line. And from the point where you take that right or left to the finish line and go to the finish line, how was that? Well,
it makes everything worth it, doesn't it?
It does.
It does. You've got all the people there that are screaming for you that don't know you. And it's kind of it's like that perfect golf shot, right? You chase around that damn golf ball on 18 holes, but you get that one sweet shot where you laid up nice and it felt good coming off the head of the club, and you're like, I like golf. I don't personally like golf, but I know what that feeling is, And so coming around the corner and seeing all the people and then getting to feel that energy, it made a lot of that stuff go away. It's pretty cool. It's not like having Mike Riley call you, but it's pretty cool.
Right. Now, after you crossed the finish line, what'd you do next?
Of course, I got medaled. There's a young girl who medaled us, gave us a finisher hat, and then I stumbled over to the picture place where they kind of take your picture, and then from there I went into the athletes tent to get some food. There was no food left, Terry, none, and there's still a lot of people that were behind me to finish.
Yeah, because you finished at right about 6 hours.
Yeah, there's still a lot of people behind me, and there was no food when I went in.
What happened, I wonder?
I have no idea. Maybe people bringing in their brood or something. I have no idea. And that's why I was saying earlier, some of the volunteers they didn't want to be there, and I asked a dumb question to one of the volunteers. I said, well, where's the food at? You don't have food? And she looked at me and she goes, what you see is what you get. And I'm like, that's not cool, So, there's a couple bags of potato chips and a cookie. But last year, heck, we had pizza. We had all kinds of stuff there last year.
For the Fool at Santa Rosa, man, they have the get up there for that. They have a whole tent designated for pizza. They have tons and tons of pizza. And then there's a thing of bananas, strawberries, because out in California, they love their strawberries. And they have pretty much everything out there. Plenty of Cokes, plenty of soft drinks, everything.
No, not my tent. My tent was kind of barren.
Man, that sucks.
Yeah.
Well, this leads into the next question. How could Ironman have made your race experience better?
I think better run support. I think the aid stations could have been better because they were infectious. And that was one of the biggest reasons why I came back to do the race because the experience in 17 was so over the top. Everyone was, on every single aid station, people were just screaming, having a good time. The after party, kind of so to speak, in the village when you're done was infectious, man. There was loud music. There was plenty of food. They had beer trucks. They had a lot of stuff going on. And so I was kind of anticipating that for this race, but it really wasn't the case. And that's kind of what separates us from doing, the other races or just this distance that's not branded as an Ironman. It's because, there's some cool things that come along with these entry fees that we pay that are ungodly, So. Right.
Now, were there any beer trucks or any food trucks that were in the area when you finished?
Well, there's a bunch of, I think there was, they had a couple tents set up where you could buy some beer. They had, I didn't see any food. I didn't see any food though. I didn't see it because my walk back to the courtyard is probably a 1.5 mile walk. It's pretty close to the village. So I just packed my trash, got my bike, and we just walk back down. It wasn't cool.
So it seems like it was very underwhelming for you.
Yeah, the way that it ended. Yeah, I'm always going to be satisfied with my performance. I'll always take something away from that. Things that I did good, things that I need to improve on. But report card wise for the race, it's there's got to be a happy ending, Terry, right? Always has to be a happy ending. If there's no happy ending, it doesn't make it worth it, right? And it just wasn't that cool at the end. The medal's cool, and to say that you completed another half is cool, but I just thought it should have been different at the finish line.
Okay. Now, what's something that you learned about this experience at this race that you'd want to pass on to someone who hasn't done this race before?
I'm going to say be as prepared as you can be for things you think might not happen. I mean, they always say, you train every day, every different condition because you don't know what your life on race day. And that's true. So it does make things a little bit difficult. So I would say that, be ready for anything.
Okay. Now, moving forward from this, what's next for you?
Ironman Arizona in November.
Have you volunteered there before?
No, I raced it last year.
Okay, so this is your second time going back there.
Yep.
Okay. Now, for first-timers doing this race next year, what advice would you give them?
For Arizona?
No, for Santa Rosa.
Yeah, I would say just be prepared. I mean, because you don't know how it's going to be on race day. And this fog thing. It was. I guess maybe it's I don't think it's happened in the history out there at Santa Rosa, so it's probably just an anomaly. But I'm going to say that if you try and get your training across the board and you're trying to focus on one discipline, probably not a good idea out there. I listen to my coach. My coach tells me do this, do that, and I do follow him. But I got to say that when it comes to the bike, I think I work harder on the bike than I do the swim and the run, and that's got to change. So I'm going to say to anybody that's doing a first timer thing out there, just work on your strength. Work on your strength. Work on your leg strength, and make sure that you can get your swim, bike, and run fitness as close to one another as you can.
Okay. Well, to transition a little bit more, what races are on your bucket list?
I'm already signed up for Oceanside. I've never done Oceanside. So I'm going to do that at 19. I don't know after that. I want to do Super Frog because I know the swim is pretty challenging. And then I want to do Santa Cruz. Full-wise, I don't know that I will do any other full other than Arizona or maybe Santa Rosa, for one of the reasons like we talked about. I don't want to give my bike to bike transport for people to take apart and we have to put back together and I got to ship it on a plane. I don't have that kind of time, and so for me to drive from Vegas to San Diego, easy. For me to drive from Vegas to NorCal, not easy, but it's doable,
Right.
So that's it.
Now, just to give you a heads up, for Santa Rosa this year, they would actually put your – sorry, that's not Santa Rosa. That was another race that interviewed about. That was Boulder. So at Boulder this year, they actually had one transition, and it was at the reservoir. And then they actually used tri-bike transport to take the bikes from the transition to another transition at downtown area where the finish line was. So you only had a transition for the swim and the bike and bike to run, but that transition is not where you went to go pick up your bike post-race. They used tri-bike transport for that, which was an interesting thing.
Yeah, I don't think I'd dig that either.
Yeah. Ron, I just want to ask you one more question, and I know that you've heard the podcast before, so you obviously know it's coming. What's your definition of a perfect race?
Definition of a perfect race. Being satisfied with your performance. Being satisfied with your performance and being able to take something away from the race that you can plug into your next race. That makes it perfect for me. It's not going to be, because I had a goal to smash my bike PR. And while it's cool, right, it's only cool to people like me and you, my coach. My friends don't really know that, going almost 21 miles an hour on a bike for 56 miles is cool. They're like, oh, well, it's not that fast. Well, yeah, it actually is kind of fast. So that's what I would say. I would say, being able to take something positive away from the race you finished that you can plug into your next race that's going to make it a little bit better for you. And I think that if you can do that, I think it's going to make for a perfect race.
Wow. That's awesome. Ron, I just want to take a minute and thank you so much for your time, for spending a little bit of time with me today. And I've really enjoyed hearing about your experience. I wish it would have been a little bit better for you, and I hope next time it is. If you do go back to this race, I wish you the best at Arizona. I'd love to have you back on after Arizona.
Yeah, that'd be cool. That'd be great. I'd love to.
Awesome. Well, you have a good day, and we'll talk soon, okay?
Okay. Thanks.
All right. Thanks for tuning in today. I hope you were able to learn something from today's episode. If you enjoy the show, please take a minute to leave a review on iTunes or share it with a friend. Be sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode. If you'd like to see pictures from this athlete's race, learn more about who I am, what I'm doing, or be on the show yourself to share your story, check out my website at CoachTerryWilson.com. Until next time, continue the pursuit.